You know that person who seems completely normal in casual conversation. Until things get deeper, they ask questions nobody else thought to ask, explain simple things in unexpectedly complex ways, say, "I don't know," with complete confidence, when everyone else is pretending to have answers. And when you point it out, they look genuinely surprised. Because to them, this is just how thinking works. Here's what most people don't understand. High intelligence doesn't look like straight A's or solving math problems fast. It shows up in how someone thinks, questions, and processes the world around them. People with very high IQs display 10 specific signs. And by sign number 6, you'll understand exactly why their minds are wired so differently from most people around them. Let's begin. And this first sign, it's the one that makes people think they're being difficult. They're not. Their brain just won't let them stay on the surface. Sign 1. Deep thinking. Someone mentions a simple topic, politics, relationships, a recent news story. Most people share their opinion and move on. They go quiet. Not because they have nothing to say, because their brain is already 3 layers deeper than the conversation. They're not just thinking about the topic, they're thinking about the assumptions behind it, the systems that created it, the second-order effects nobody's considering, the historical patterns it echoes. This is called elaborative processing. Research on cognitive function shows it's one of the clearest markers of exceptional intelligence. High IQ individuals don't just store information, they connect it to existing knowledge, analyze its implications, and build complex mental models in real time. Most people think in conclusions, they think in processes. Ask someone with average intelligence about a topic, they'll tell you their position. Ask someone with very high intelligence, they'll start by questioning the framing of your question. Not to be difficult, because their brain automatically sees complexity where others see simplicity. They're the person who, when asked, "What do you think about X?" responds, "Well, it depends on how you define X, what context we're in, and whether we're talking short-term or long-term." People get frustrated. They wanted a simple answer. But their brains don't do simple, they do thorough, they do deep. And for them, that's not overthinking, that's baseline. But deep thinking isn't just about how they process information. It changes the questions they ask. And those questions sound nothing like what anyone else in the room is asking. Sign 2. Asking unusual questions. Not surface questions like, "What happened?" but structural ones like, "Why is this the framework we're using?" Or, "What would have to be true for the opposite to be correct?" Questions that expose assumptions, flip perspectives, make everyone realize they were operating on logic nobody had examined. This is a hallmark of high intelligence, the ability to identify the questions that matter most, even when they seem tangential or strange. Research on intellectual curiosity shows that gifted individuals don't just seek answers, they seek better questions, constantly probing the edges of understanding, looking for gaps, testing foundations. Someone presents a solution, everyone nods. Makes sense. They raise their hand. Wait, are we solving the right problem, or are we solving a symptom of a deeper problem? The whole conversation shifts, because they just reframed everything. Or someone makes a casual claim, everyone accepts it. They ask, how would we know if that's actually true? What would we expect to see if it were false? Not to be annoying, because their brain applies critical thinking automatically to everything without effort. These aren't questions they learned from a book. They're natural extensions of how their mind works. And yes, it can be exhausting for people around them. Most conversations aren't designed for this level of inquiry, but for them, asking isn't optional. It's how they make sense of the world. And all of that thinking, that constant questioning and processing, requires something most people underestimate: space, silence, time completely alone. Sign 3. Enjoying solitude. They don't just tolerate being alone. They seek it, need it, guard it. Not because they're antisocial, because solitude is where their minds actually function at full capacity. In groups, they're constantly managing, reading social cues, adjusting communication, simplifying thoughts, operating at half speed just to stay connected. It's cognitively expensive in a way most people don't feel. But alone, no translation required, no editing, no performance. Their mind can finally run. Research on introversion and intelligence shows a strong correlation. Many high IQ individuals require significant alone time to engage with ideas at the depth they need. After social events, they need hours to decompress. Not because anything went wrong, but because even good social interaction costs something. They need uninterrupted time to follow thought threads to their conclusion, to make connections their minds have been quietly building in the background. People misread this as being distant. Why don't they want to hang out more? It's not personal, it's practical. They've hit their limit for translating complex thoughts into socially acceptable communication, and they need to recharge before they can do it again. Solitude isn't escape, it's optimization. It's where their best thinking happens. But even in solitude, even when they're completely alone, their brain doesn't rest. It keeps running, keeps processing, keeps analyzing things everyone else stopped thinking about hours ago. Sign 4. Overthinking. A conversation ended 3 hours ago. They're still processing it. A decision was made last week. They're still analyzing whether it was optimal. A problem was solved. They're still considering alternative approaches. This looks like anxiety from the outside, but it's not. It's their brain doing what it does best: continuous optimization, pattern analysis, scenario modeling. Psychologists call this analytical rumination, and it's fundamentally different from anxious rumination. It's not worry, it's analysis that goes deeper than most people's thinking ever reaches. Someone makes a passing comment. Most people forget it immediately. They're thinking about it 3 days later, not because it upset them, because their brain flagged something interesting, inconsistent, or worth understanding. And once flagged, it won't let go. People tell them, "You're overthinking, just let it go." But they can't switch it off. Once their brain engages, it processes until it reaches something it considers complete. Exhausting? Yes. Always having multiple thought threads running, always seeing implications others missed, always considering angles nobody asked for. But this is also their edge, because this constant processing is exactly how they develop insights most people never reach. And when all of that internal processing finally surfaces, when someone asks them a direct question, what comes out sounds nothing like a simple answer, even when a simple answer was all that was needed. Sign 5. Overexplaining simple things. What time should we meet? Becomes a 5-minute analysis of traffic patterns, optimal timing, and contingency plans. Do you like this restaurant? Becomes a breakdown of cuisine quality, value, service consistency, and comparative analysis. They're not trying to be complicated. Their brain automatically generates comprehensive responses, and filtering that down to a simple answer feels like deliberately leaving out relevant information. This is called compulsive contextualization. Research confirms that highly intelligent people struggle with brevity, not from poor communication skills, but because they see nuance and implications that make simplified answers feel inaccurate. What feels complete to them feels excessive to everyone else, and they've never quite figured out how to close it. Sign 6. Love for complex problems. Give them a simple, straightforward task. They're bored. Give them something genuinely difficult, something with no clear solution, something that requires building entirely new frameworks, and they light up. This is one of the most reliable indicators of high intelligence: attraction to complexity. Research on cognitive complexity shows that gifted individuals have a higher tolerance, and often a strong preference, for ambiguous, multi-layered problems that lack obvious answers. At work, when a complex project comes up that everyone else is quietly hoping to avoid, they volunteer, not to impress anyone. Because complex problems are interesting, simple ones are boring. They'd rather spend 3 hours on something genuinely difficult than 3 minutes on 10 things that are easy. People think this is masochism. Why choose the hard path? But difficulty isn't punishment to them. It's engagement. Their brains need complexity the way bodies need exercise. Easy problems don't satisfy. They're empty calories, technically food, but no nutrition. Complex problems, the ones requiring new mental models, unexpected connections, novel solutions, those are what actually feed their brain. They're the person who gets excited about the project that makes everyone else groan, who looks at a massive challenge and thinks, finally, something interesting. And that need to work through complexity from every angle, it doesn't stay internal. Sometimes the only way to manage it is to say it out loud, even when no one else is in the room. Sign 7. Arguing with themselves out loud. They're alone and talking, not muttering, full conversations, full arguments, presenting one side, countering it, defending the counter, finding the flaw in their own defense. Then someone walks in. Immediate embarrassment. But they're not doing this from loneliness or confusion. They're externalizing reasoning that has too many threads to track internally. This is verbal processing of multi-perspective thinking. Research on metacognition confirms that people with exceptional reasoning abilities often externalize thought processes that others keep entirely internal. Not because they need to hear themselves think, because the complexity requires it. They're playing every side of an argument before forming a conclusion. Most people pick a position and defend it. They explore all positions, find the strongest version of each, test them against each other, and only then decide. That process is too complex to keep entirely in their head. People find it strange. Are you okay? You were literally arguing with yourself. From their perspective, they're doing rigorous analysis, testing logic, making sure their conclusions can withstand challenges before they commit. It's not crazy, it's thorough. And once a conversation is over, even a good one, their brain isn't done with it, not even close. Sign 8. Replaying conversations and spotting every flaw. Hours after it ended, still processing. Not because it went badly, because their brain is reviewing everything said, identifying every imprecision, finding every moment that could have been communicated more accurately. They said something that wasn't quite right, used an example with a flaw, made a claim they can't fully support, missed an obvious point. Now they're mentally rewriting the entire thing, optimizing every exchange. This is called retrospective optimization. Research shows high IQ individuals engage in significantly more post-conversation analysis than average, not from social anxiety, from continuous accuracy drive. Most people have a conversation and move on. They have the conversation, then the analysis, then the optimization, then an updated internal model for next time. People tell them, stop overthinking it, it's over. But their brain doesn't file it as complete until it's been fully processed. Every conversation is data. Every interaction is a chance to refine thinking and communication. Exhausting? Always. But this is exactly how they keep getting sharper. But here's what surprises people most about high intelligence. After all that analysis, all that depth, all that relentless processing, they're also the most comfortable admitting they don't have an answer. Sign 9. Comfort with uncertainty. Most people feel pressure to have an opinion on everything. They don't. They're comfortable with uncertainty, with incomplete information, with questions that don't resolve into clean answers. This is called intellectual humility, and research consistently shows that higher intelligence correlates with greater awareness of what you don't know. The smarter someone is, the more accurately they can identify the edges of their own understanding. Someone asks their opinion on something. They respond, I haven't looked into that enough to have an informed view. Meanwhile, someone who knows far less speaks with complete certainty. And people often think the confident one is smarter, even though the person admitting uncertainty actually has better metacognition. They say, I don't know, because they understand that certainty without sufficient information isn't confidence, it's arrogance. They hold multiple competing ideas without needing to immediately collapse them into one position. They sit with complexity that doesn't resolve cleanly. That's not wishy-washy, that's epistemological sophistication, and it's rarer than it looks. And underneath all of it, the deep thinking, the unusual questions, the analysis, the comfort with not knowing. There's one thing that drives everything, something that never switches off and never needs a reason. Sign 10. Curiosity and constant learning. They never stop learning, not to be productive, not for advancement, because curiosity isn't something they switch on. It's just how their brain operates. Always reading something, researching something, teaching themselves something. Not for work, not for a goal, purely for the satisfaction of understanding. 10 signs. And not one of them is a quirk. These aren't personality traits. They're thinking patterns. Ones that emerge when a brain processes information at exceptional depth and speed. The world will call some of these signs overthinking, complicated, weird. But they're not problems. They're features. Features of minds built for complexity in a world often designed for simplicity. And understanding these signs matters, because these behaviors get misread constantly as social awkwardness, arrogance, anxiety, when they're actually just intelligence operating at a level most people don't experience. Which sign resonated most with you? Drop a number in the comments, 1 through 10. If this video helped you see high IQ psychology differently, share it with someone who might recognize themselves in it. Subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.